Until this moment, the house was just one big empty space, but over the next few weeks, that would completely change. As the internal wall started going up, we could finally see where every room would be and imagine ourselves living here one day. The house truly started to feel like home. Hi everyone, this is Mark, and this episode I built all the internal walls in our farmhouse completely DIY. It took me several weeks to complete this project, and if you'd like to see how it all came together, make sure to watch until the end. It all started with the planning. The thing is, we never had a proper plan for the internal walls. We knew we would have to improvise when we got to this stage, so one day I decided to lay the bricks out dry and finally come up with a final layout before I started building. So this is the final floor plan we came up with. The house measures 1160 by 6 meters and the chimney was already fixed in place. One thing we knew for sure was that the stairs had to go around the chimney. We placed the bathroom to the right side of the stairs because it gives us plenty of extra space underneath them. That area will become our utility room where we will keep all the plumbing, water connections and heating system. In front of the chimney, we plan to install the fireplace. Placing it near the center of the house should not only make a great focal point, but also help distribute heat evenly throughout the house. Finally, we wanted to fit a couple of rooms downstairs while keeping the rest of the ground floor one large open living space. So all I had to do was build all those walls while remembering to leave openings for 3 doors and most importantly, make sure I didn't mess up the height of the lintels. First things first, I removed all the dirt and dust from the floor to create a clean, smooth surface to work on. Then it was time to use the liquid tar again, which I still had left over from when I waterproofed underneath the existing walls. I actually really enjoyed applying it back then, so I was genuinely excited to work with it again. I applied this liquid tar roughly 50 cm wide because at that point I still hadn't decided whether I wanted a larger bedroom or a bigger bathroom. Unfortunately, the inside of the house is only about 5.5 meters wide, so I had to fit a bedroom, a hallway, and a bathroom into that space. I really like this liquid waterproofing product because it fills in all the small gaps and uneven spots as well. But more importantly, it serves as the first line of defense against moisture and water. 18 kg of this product costs roughly 180 zloty, which I think is well worth for that extra protection, just to be on the safe side. In the end, I got a bit carried away and painted more than I actually needed to, but I had fun doing it. I let the tar cure for a full day because it's actually flammable when it's freshly applied, so using a torch too soon isn't safe. After 24 hours, it had fully cured and it was safe to torch down the bitumen sheets before I could finally start the building. I took my time with the first row because I wanted to get the best possible result. The only thing pushing me work faster was the approach of the frost. It was late 2025, winter was just around the corner, and I knew I had to get the walls up before the freezing temperature arrived. But I refused to sacrifice quality for speed, so I made sure every brick was straight and level. The other challenge was the lack of daylight. This was the first winter I was working under the roof, but without electricity connected yet, I had no lights inside the house. As winter set in, the days in Poland became very short, and after a while I realized that a lot of my footage was also poor quality because I was filming in such low light. Some days after work and spending time with my family, I only had a couple of hours left to focus on the house before it completely got dark. Progress during those days were painfully slow. Then all of a sudden the first snowfall arrived along with freezing temperatures, so I had to stop. Even though the temperatures dropped below freezing that week, we still spent our time exploring the surrounding area. We found plenty of animal tracks in the snow, and there was always something to discover. We also had plenty of straw left on our land, so instead of buying an advent wrap that year, we decided to make one ourselves by hand. As soon as the weather improved, I got straight back to work. After finishing the first row of blocks, I drilled holes into the main walls and glued in steel rebars to tie the internal walls into the existing structure. It was a simple step, but one that would make the entire house much stronger. I repeated the same process on all the corners, embedding L-shaped steel bars into the glued holes to reinforce them. It was another small detail that would help make the structure even stronger. When it came to carving out the grooves for the steel bars, I didn't buy any special tools. I simply used whatever I had lying around, usually a simple hand file or even just a piece of scrap metal. It wasn't fancy, but it worked. Then came days and days of laying bricks on a bed of glue. Honestly, I can't remember how many hours I put into this part of the project, but I think it took me around 3 weeks to finish it all. Some days I only had a couple of hours after work, while on others I could stay a bit longer. Either way, it felt like it would never end. I plan to use 10 cm wide walls. They seem like a perfect balance, thick enough to provide decent sound insulation while still leaving enough space to run all the electrical wiring. Unfortunately, our supplier didn't have the 10 cm blocks in stock, and ordering them would have delayed the project. Instead, he recommended using 12 cm blocks, explaining that they are the standard choice in Poland and much more commonly used. In the end, I trusted his advice and changed the design from 10 to 12 centimeters. I started using a drill bit to crave small holes into blocks. It was surprisingly satisfying and quite efficient. This was necessary so the steel rebars could sit properly without lifting the blocks. Once everything was bound together with a layer of glue, it helped strengthen the structure again. This is how I built it, brick by brick, day and night, trying to squeeze as much work as possible into every single day. I won't lie, by this point I was dreaming about finally getting the electricity connected, but before that could happen, I still had plenty of digging left to do. Originally, I wasn't planning to add rebars in the corners, but I figured it couldn't hurt. So every third row I placed a long 6mm rebar just to give the structure a little extra strength. If my kids ever decide to recreate the WWE match indoors, at least the walls will stand a chance. Once I reached shoulder height on the room walls, I moved on to building the bathroom walls. I bought this laser level back then, and it runs on regular batteries. Replacing them was sometimes a real pain, especially because I had to set the laser up all over again every single time. I really wish it could be charged while in use. I also went through quite a few packs of batteries, as using multiple laser beams drains them surprisingly fast. Behind these walls will be either the bathtub or a shower. I still haven't decided yet. Just to be safe, I added a few rebars to the wall as well, in case somehow turns into a swimming pool. A quick lunch break and the camera check, and I was right back at work. Let's talk about the bricks and the costs. I bought 2 pallets of these sawbed blocks before the roof was installed because I thought I have plenty of free time to build the interior walls. Well, I was completely wrong, I had no time at all. Back then, 1 pallet cost roughly 750 zloty, so I had already spent around 1,500 zloty on the blocks alone. I still had plenty of glue and rebars left in stock, so I didn't need to buy those. Even then, I knew 2 pallets were not going to be enough, and sooner or later I have to order more. Thankfully, I bought them when I did. Prices went up quite a bit in 2026, and the same blocks now cost a couple of hundred zloty more per pallet. That's a pretty significant increase, so I'm really glad I bought them early. At first, I was balancing on a few stacked bricks, but after a while I decided it was time to switch to proper work stands. They made the job much safer and a lot more comfortable. Of course, not every block went in perfectly. Every now and then, one would sit a few millimeters lower than the others. It wasn't anything to worry about. Whenever I spotted a small low spot, I'd simply mark with a pencil so I knew where to apply a slightly thicker layer of glue for the next row. That was enough to bring everything back into level. Eventually the wall reached the first beam. It wasn't sitting exactly underneath it. That was a bit of a surprise. I wasn't really paying attention to the beam's exact position, so I decided to simply cut the blocks and fit them neatly around it. On the living room side, it won't be visible anyway because I'll be installing a built-in wardrobe there. On the other side, I'll cover with a plasterboard and fill any gap with soundproofing insulation, so in the end, everything will be nicely hidden. And guess what? I was still digging the trench for the electricity. The next morning, I tried to summon a companion to help me finish the walls, but it looks like the spell didn't work. Maybe it was just too cold for him to show up, so I had to carry on alone. I'm not sure if the camera can truly capture the feeling, but I absolutely love these mornings. Endless peace, birds singing as if they were putting on a concert just for me, and for a little while you forget about all the challenges ahead. You simply find peace. Moments like these makes all the hard ones worth it. With all the tools ready for the long shift, I started using the smaller pieces of blocks just because I realized I was actually running quite low on the full ones. Luckily, my supplier was always there to save the day, so I gave him a call and asked if he could deliver one more pallet of blocks that afternoon. It's a local family business, and I couldn't have been happier with them. Everything we agreed on was delivered exactly as promised. No mistakes, no excuses, just reliable service every single time. I tried a few different suppliers to find the best one, but once I found these guys, I never looked back. I ordered 2 bags of glue for the blocks, 3 lintels for the interior doorways, and 1 pallet of 12 cm sole bed blocks. In total, I paid 1079 zloty. Once I was almost at the height of the lintels, I marked the 100 cm level on the walls all the way around the house. This is exactly 1 meter above the finished floor level, giving me a clear reference line to position all the lintels at the correct height. I installed the first lintel after dark, and the footage turned out pretty bad, so this is how it looked like the next day. For the lintel at the back of the hallway, I had to cut the recess into the blocks so it could sit in place. The bottom of all the lintels was set at 208 centimeters above the finished floor level, ensuring they were all installed at the same height. It fit perfectly, and with that in place, it was time to move on to the last one. This stage of the build was actually pretty enjoyable. I'll be honest, building the walls could feel a bit repetitive at times, especially after spending weeks laying blocks. But once I reached the lintels and the room started taking shape, everything suddenly became much more exciting. Seeing the layout of the house come to life gave me a real boost of motivation. Surprisingly, I didn't run into any major setbacks or challenges during this part. Maybe it was because I already gained some experience building the main walls and I knew what to expect. Looking back, I genuinely think this is something almost anyone could learn to do. It takes patience more than anything else, but once you get the hang of it, laying the blocks is actually quite straightforward. By the time this footage was taken, the walls were about 90% complete. Only a few more blocks were left to lay, which I finished over the following days. After a bit of cleaning here and there, this stage of the build was finally done. If you think I'm crazy enough to take on a project like this, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and drop a comment. Your support really means a lot and helps keep this project going. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate every single one of you. Mark is out. Peace.